What's up, guys? Jack from Brickhouse Fitness and Powerlifting, and we're going to talk about what you should do when the gyms open back up. Some of you haven't touched the weight for 8 weeks, maybe more. That's a pretty long layoff, especially if you're a competitive powerlifter. Something that I've planned for people and done myself after long layoffs, 8 weeks or more, has always been to start off with anywhere between 30 and 50% of what you used to work with, right? That's a great place to start because you don't know how off your technique is. You don't know. I mean, if you haven't been doing mobility work, that's going to be off. Your force production into the bar is going to be way off and low. Your work capacity is going to be super low, especially if you haven't been doing anything, not even body weight stuff. So depending on what you've been doing during this time will really affect how your work capacity is, your force production, and your technique. Even if you're just squatting with a PVC pipe at home right now, that is helping reinforce that technique so that when you get back onto the bar, your body knows, your body at least knows the motion, right? So let's start off on week one. Again, depending, if you've had a longer layoff than 8 weeks, I would definitely start with like the 30%. But 8 weeks, a good place to start is around 50% of your old working max. And you're gonna, in week one, you're gonna really start with, I'd probably wave up in a 3-week wave from here. So week one, 50%. Let's keep the rep ranges simple. Let's keep them between 5 and 8 reps. Keep the sets a little lower in the beginning because we got to build that work capacity up, and we're going to build that work capacity up through other smaller exercises that really target your weak areas anyway. And this is a great time to build up those weak areas. Like for most people, it's hamstrings, lower back, stuff like that, maybe triceps, even your delts, right? So week one, like I said, 50% between 5 and 8 reps. Let's say 3 to 4 sets if you are if your recovery is a little lower normally. If your recovery is normally typically pretty high, you can probably up it between 4 and 5 sets of your main work, right? After that, we're going to do an assistance exercise. Keep that short, 2 to 3 sets, 5 to 8 reps. Everything right now is technique and putting as much force as you can into the bar because we want to bring that force production back up. We want to bring that as high as possible. And then after that, we're going to do the work capacity stuff. We're going to do 3 to 5 different exercises, and you're going to work them in a circuit. And you're going to run those for anywhere between either time or maybe a total of 100 reps or a total of 5 or 6 sets, right, with minimal rest, 1 to 2 minutes rest period tops. That's going to bring your work capacity up in a way that's going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You're going to work on your weaknesses and you're going to build up your work capacity because we already got the technique work and the force production in the first 2. Week 2, depending on how week 1 felt, you could jump up 10%, go to 60%, and go from there. Some of the younger lifters, they bounce back pretty quick. I still wouldn't recommend more than 10% each week because that makes a big difference, especially depending on what weights you're working with. If you're only working with 100 pounds, it's not a big deal. But if you're a 500-pound bencher, now we're talking we're talking significant amount of weight here. So 60%, do the same thing, bring up the work capacity, and we're going to add either a couple reps, time, or sets to the work capacity stuff, the GPP work right at the end. Same thing with the beginning, the main lift and the assistance work. Now, the main lift, I don't mean just squat, just bench, just deadlift. I think because of the layoff, we should have that in there. But if you know that you have a really big weakness, say in your triceps and a bench press, you may want to add chains to the bar. You may want to do against bands. You may want to just do it with a closer grip. And then you can go to your actual bench press as the assistance exercise, right? Just to kind of give your body that reinforcement of technique. But I definitely recommend using it in the beginning and then having the assistance work at the end. And then when you get into the hypertrophy block or a strength block, not the strength block. When you get into the hypertrophy block, I would definitely play around with the weak stuff. So having your main lift would be something that you don't typically do, which would be like, say, like a close grip plus chains if your triceps are weak and a lockout. Week 3, bump it up again, another 10%, 70%. Again, if it feels okay. Anything after that 3-week wave, you're pretty much ready to get into your normal transition into training, whatever your blocks look like, if you have a hypertrophy block, or if you just go from a transition after a meet right into a strength block, depending on your how advanced you are, how much muscle size you have, how much strength you have. That all depends on that. But I hope that helped. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Let me know. Always remember, the only thing stopping you is you. Train hard, recover strong. I'll talk to you guys later.